Hi everyone, welcome to JavaTechie. In our last tutorial, we discussed about how to build and push Docker image using Jenkins Pipeline, right? If anyone is not aware about that, please check out my last tutorial. I will also share the link in video description so that you guys can refer it. Now let's move one step ahead and try to understand how to deploy Docker image to Kubernetes cluster using Jenkins Pipeline. We will follow the same declarative pipeline syntax approach. Before we start, I am assuming here that you have basic knowledge on Kubernetes and its components. If not, first go back and check out my Kubernetes playlist, then come back to this tutorial. Okay, so without any further delay, let's get started. So to perform this end-to-end Devops integration, we need to up all the component, right? I need to start the Docker, then I need to start the Jenkins. So first let me start the Docker desktop. Okay, you can see here. And then next I need to start my Jenkins. So what I'll do, I'll go to the terminal, then I'll fire a command, brew service start Jenkins. Okay, so this is the command in Mac. You can start the Jenkins server. So I'll just hit enter. So you can see here it's successfully started. Now I need to go to the browser and I need to hit localhost 8080, which is the default port of the Jenkins. So I'll just hit this. So this is the dashboard or login page of the Jenkins. What I'll do, I'll just give the username JavaTechie and the password. I'll just type it. So here we go. It redirects us to the Jenkins dashboard. Now, if you can remember, this is what the last project we created. If you will open this DevOps automation and if you will check the configure, you can see the pipeline which we created. You can see here we build Maven project, then we created Docker image, then we push that image to the Docker hub, and the next step we are going to add a new stage to push that Docker image to the Kubernetes cluster, right? Since we want to play with Kubernetes, so first we need to start our Minikube server so that we can bootstrap the local Kubernetes cluster. So what I'll do, I'll go to the terminal and simply I'll type Minikube start. Okay, it will take few seconds to start the Minikube. Meanwhile, I will just add a plugin in the Jenkins so that we can perform this Kubernetes deployment. So what we'll do, we'll just go to the project DevOps automation, or I'll go to the dashboard. Then there is something called manage Jenkins. Okay, just click on that. Then you can go and there is an option called manage plugins. Okay, just click on that. Then just go to the available and search here Kubernetes continuous. You won't found it because already I installed it. Okay, so you will find inside this installed section. So just go to the install. I just want to show you the plugin name. You can see here Kubernetes continuous deploy. The version I downgraded it to 1.0.0. So you can also downgrade. I will show you how you can downgrade. Just click on this, not here. Just click on advanced, then scroll down, and here you can find a option called deploy plugin. Okay, so click on this choose file. I have the Jenkins downgrade version with me. I'll share this particular file. Okay, Kubernetes cd.hpi. You can just open it and then you can see this option deploy, right? Just click on this deploy. Since already I downgraded, I'm not going to do it again. I'll directly go back to the dashboard. Then we'll go to our DevOps automation project. Okay, but make sure to downgrade it, otherwise it won't work. With the upgrade version, there is some issue reported by the Jenkins itself. So that's the reason it's recommended to downgrade. Fine. Now go to the configure section. Here we just want to add a new stage. So meanwhile, let me check whether our Minikube started or not. Yeah, it started. I'll just verify Minikube status. Let me zoom this. Fine. Just add it. You can see here all the components are running. Now I need to sync my Docker with Kubernetes. So if you can remember my Kubernetes playlist, you know there is a command called eval, then just add the dollar symbol, then just type minikube and specify the environment which we are using, docker hyphen env. Okay, just enter it. Now if I'll type docker images, I can see all the images from the Kubernetes component, right? Now next, since I want to deploy my application to the Kubernetes cluster, I need to create service and deployment object. Okay, so if you guys don't know about service deployment and components of Kubernetes, I would strongly recommend you to check out my Kubernetes playlist. Also, if you can see, this is what the Medium blog I created about the Kubernetes deploying the first application. Okay, so I'll also share this link, you can refer it. Now first I need to create the deployment and service object. So how we can do that? Simply in our same application, we'll create a new file and we'll name that file something like deployment, anything you can give, service.yaml. Okay, there you need to define the deployment and service object. So just add it. I'll just add the file details. So if you can observe, this is what my deployment object and the name of my deployment, and then the replica number of pods I want to up for this particular deployment, and the label you need to specify. Then you need to specify the containers information. This is the important things you need to remember. You need to give the image name which you are creating from the Jenkins file. Okay, so if you'll go and check in our configure section, the image name we are giving Devops integration. Okay, so just copy this, then go back to your code. In the deployment and service, just replace the image name, because this is what the image Kubernetes will pull from your Docker hub, so that both will be on sync. And make sure we have the same image name in our Docker file. Yeah, we have the same, we are good. Now if you observe, the second object is service. There we are just specifying the service type, which is node port. Okay, so you will understand more about these things if you check out my Kubernetes playlist. That's fine. To deploy any application to the Kubernetes cluster, we need two objects. One is the deployment, another is the service object, and that is what we configure through the YML file. Now let me commit these changes. Okay, I'll just add deployment file, commit and push the changes. Yeah, so changes are pushed. Now if you will go and check in your GitHub, I'll just refresh this. I have the deployment service.yml file, right? So this is what we added, and we changed the image name which we are pushing to the Docker hub, so that Kubernetes will pull the same image from the Docker hub and it will continue to deploy it to Kubernetes cluster. Fine. Now let's go to the Jenkins and configure a new stage for Kubernetes deployment. So let me check. Yeah, this stage is getting ended here, right? Yeah, I will add a new stage. Then I will give the message deploy to Kubernetes or something like that. Then I just need to define the steps. Okay, let me zoom this. Fine. Now here I need to define the steps. Then inside steps I need to define the script. Fine. Next, inside this script we need to add something about our configuration. So I don't know the syntax, so what I will do, I will take the help from this pipeline syntax. So just click on this, and then here you will search with Kubernetes. You can see the option called Kubernetes deploy, right? Just enter it, and here you need to provide your kube config information, where you have your all private key and SSH access. Okay, so for that what I need to do, simply just click on this add, then click on this Jenkins credential. Now here instead of username and password, you need to provide this Kubernetes configuration. Okay, this particular option will be available if you add the plugin Kubernetes continuous pipeline. Okay, which I just explained before. If you have that plugin, then you can only see this option. So just click on this. Now here you can give the ID any name. I will just give Kubernetes config pwd or something like that. Okay, I'll give the same name here. Now you need to add the kubeconfig file information directly. So you can click on enter directly. Okay. Now here you need to add the kubeconfig information. Now where you will get the kubeconfig information? Just go to the terminal. I'll just clear everything. Okay. Now what next you need to do? First you need to go back to your home. cd. This will redirect you to the root directory. Now just type ls-la. I just want to see all the hidden file. Just enter it. You can see there is something called .cube. So just move into the directory cd.cube. Then if you will open ls, there is two files, cache and config. I just want information of this config file. So I can directly use cat config so that I can read all the content, but I just want to copy this content and paste in this particular configuration in Jenkins. So what I'll do, I will just open it. Open config. It will open in a file. This is the file. I'll just copy this syntax. Then I will just paste it here. So if you observe in this file, we have the API version, then all the authority certificate information we have here. So that we are giving control to Jenkins to access our Kubernetes cluster, which is running on my local machine. So that is why I'm giving my SSH or private key information here. Okay. Now simply click on add, then choose the one which we created, K8s config password, right? Just enter it, then just generate pipeline. I will copy this, then go to the configuration. I will just add it here. Okay. Now here Kubernetes deploy config, then kubeconfig path, and if you observe kubeconfig ID is this K8s config pwd. This is what we created, right? Now we need to give the configs information. So Jenkins need to read your deployment service.yml file. Then only he can able to create the deployment and service object, right? So how I can give it to the Jenkins? I am already giving the GitHub URL of my application. Now I need to tell to the Jenkins from the above GitHub, just read the file, the name which I am giving you. So just go there. I will just copy the name of it. Then again go to the config. I'll just give the name. So here I am telling to the Jenkins, go to my GitHub repo and there is a file called deployment.service.yml file. Read this file, and using this kubeconfig information I am giving complete permission to you. Just go ahead and create a service and deployment object. Okay. All others are not necessary. If you want, what I can do, I will just do something like this. Because all fields are not required us, I can directly remove these things. Just remove everything. Fine. Kubernetes deploy, then config information, then kubeconfig ID. That's it. I believe we are good. Now I'll click on save. Okay, there is something wrong in the configure. Let me check. Okay, so we need to add a comma here, right? We are giving two information, configs and kubeconfig ID. So I believe we are good. Now save it. Fine, there is no error. Now before I run, make sure, let me check the Kubernetes, or I will just check kubectl get nodes. Okay, kubectl get pods. There is no pods, but I should get the node information, right? Kubectl get nodes. Yeah, it seems spelling mistake. So I can simply type kubectl get nodes. Yeah, you can see here there is a master node and one worker node. That is fine. Now next I will just start the build here. Okay, so that as per the process, it will build the Maven project, then it will create a Docker image, then it will push that Docker image to Docker Hub, then it will again deploy to the Kubernetes. All the process will be part of this Jenkins continuous integration and continuous deployment. Now go back to the configure section, Devops automation. So this is what the last we built on June 12. Now let me build it now. You will see there will be another tab called deploy to Kubernetes. Once this push image to hub will be completed, you will find another tab. So let's check the console log. Just open it in a new tab. It is just doing the build process. Let it complete once. So you can see build is succeed. It is creating the Docker image. Now it logged into the Docker hub. Now it will push that image to the Docker hub. Okay. So let's wait it to complete. Meanwhile, just check the process here. Yeah, push image to the hub. Once this will success, it will initiate another what I can say pipeline which is deployed to Kubernetes. Okay. So just check. Yeah, it's still pushing it. Fine. Yeah. Now if you observe, it started deploy to Kubernetes. Okay. Still the process is going on. Meanwhile, I can check the log here. Yeah, you can see here status is succeed. It pushed the or it deployed to the Kubernetes cluster. Now if we'll check in our project, still it's going on. It may take few seconds. Let's wait it to complete. Yeah, you can see here the number 4 deployed to the Kubernetes is completed. So how we can verify whether our application deployed to the Kubernetes or not? Just go to the terminal and just check kubectl, again spelling mistake, kubectl get deployments 0/2. Still it's getting creating the container, you can say. Again I will check kubectl get pods. You can see here container is creating. It's not yet started. So let's wait for few seconds to start the container. I'll keep checking the pod status. Still it's creating. So what I'll do, I'll just maximize this. Again I will check. Yeah, so you can see here the status is now one by one. It's running, right? Now what I need to do, I will just check the log of it, whether my Spring Boot application is came up or not. I will just copy the name of the pod, then simply I will type cube. You can move to any directory now. Okay, so let me go to the root. Now I just need to type cube. Okay, kubectl dot get logs. Okay, there should not be get, right? Kubectl logs, then the pod name. So you can simply remove this. You can see here your application started on port 8080. Now if you check the kubectl get service, you can see the service Spring Boot K8s SBC. This is the service name and deployment name we specified in our deployment service.yml file. And this is the cluster IP and this is the port, node port. Okay, that's fine. Now let's go back and test our API. So let me minimize this. Okay, so this is the cluster IP. I will use this IP. Just search here localhost, not actually localhost not required because we want to access with IP, then give the port here. So you can get the port information, this one. Okay, and the endpoint URL, we have the endpoint URL. Go to the application. This is where the controller we created, right? So there is no URL. You can simply hit the slash. So it is still running. So I don't know why it's taking time. Just ignore for now. What I'll do, there is a command to get the service URL from the minikube itself. Okay, I'll just zoom this, or I'll just clear it so that I will fire a command minikube, then give the service name and get the URL of it, so that you can get the proxy URL to access your endpoint. So I'll just hit this endpoint. I'll just paste here. Fine, we are able to access it and we are able to get the response, welcome to JavaTechie. It means through the continuous integration and deployment process, our application go through each stage, created a Docker image, push it to the Docker hub and then it deployed to the Kubernetes cluster. That is what we verified just now, right? Now if we will go back and check in the browser, we just access our API through the Kubernetes endpoint and its port, and we are able to get the response. Okay. So this is what the complete end-to-end DevOps integration process, and this is what industry follows. Okay. So if you'll go to the project and if you'll go to the configure section, as you define the stages, multiple stages here, 1, 2, 3 and 4, all the stages get executed when we start the build from the Jenkins. Okay, so this is how we can define multiple stages using Jenkins pipeline. So this is the declarative syntax approach. So Max Industry follow this approach, and hopefully I believe you understand the complete integration flow. Let me know in comment section if you guys have any doubt. That's all about this particular video, guys. Thanks for watching this video. Meet you soon with a new concept.